Welcome to week 3 of our data analysis for monitoring and evaluation professionals course. In week 1, we learned the foundation of monitoring and evaluation and created an M&E framework. In week 2, we worked with raw data sets and learned how to clean data. Today, we move into what many people consider the beginning of actual data analysis. We will learn how to use Excel formulas to calculate indicators and answer important program questions. By the end of this class, you should be able to calculate metrics that donors, managers, and stakeholders ask for regularly. So first, let's define certain things that we are going to be using. So you want to ask, what is a formula? A formula is an instruction you give Excel or any other app to perform calculations. It could be a Power BI or whatever. So a formula is an instruction you give Excel to perform calculation. Instead of manually counting hundreds of records, Excel does the work automatically. Every formula starts with an equal sign. So in Excel, every formula starts with an equal sign. All right. For example, an addition formula, it goes like this. In your Excel formula bar, you go with your equal sign, 2 plus 2, and Excel will calculate it for you. When you write the 2 plus 2, then you press enter, it results to 4. So let's go and see that in our Excel page. Let's come here. This is the formula bar. Okay, let's say we are in this cell now, and we want to calculate. This is the formula bar. This fx is the formula bar, right? So you see it, formula bar. You click on it and you say equal to 2 plus 2, right? And you click your enter. Okay, you see it has given you the answer because the formula you put there is equal to 2 plus 2. So you can see the answer is 4. So this is the simplest example of a formula. Okay, so now let's move on. Understanding M&E questions is very, very important. As an M&E professional, we are constantly asked questions like, how many beneficiaries participated in a project? What percentage completed the training? How many females participated? What was the average assessment score? Did participants improve after training? All these things are questions that M&E professionals come face to face with every time. And Excel formula helps answer these questions quickly and, most importantly, accurately. And let's go to our clean data set from week 2, which is this, right? Okay. The first formula we are going to look at is count. So one of the first questions we are asked as M&E professionals is, how many beneficiaries do we have? In a small data set like this, you can just look at it and get the numbers, which is just 14. But where you have thousands of participants that you cannot see at a glance like this, count will help you to get the total number of participants in seconds. So, and what is the count formula? Count formula is COUNT. You count average, okay? Count A, we are using count A. And what does count A do? It returns the number of cells in a range that are not empty. You also have this count. Count the number of cells that contains numbers and count numbers within the list of arguments. But we are going to be using count A. You can also count blank spaces that are in your data, okay? Then conditional count if it meets certain condition. Do you understand? So, but now we are going to be using count A formula. So when you start typing, it brings out the formula for you. So you double click it. So this is the syntax for the count formula. So now you select inside the bracket, you see it brought out a bracket and it wants you to select the values. What are you counting? Right? So let's count A2, right? Okay, that's the beginning of the cell, right? Then you put your what? Double colon. That means you're counting A2 to A16, right? So A2 to A16, we determine the number of people. Like I said earlier, is because this is just a small data set, so it is very easy. Maybe I will bring up another data set for us to see what I mean, a larger data set. So when you do that, you click on enter and you see what it is giving you. It's giving you 15. So we have 15 participants. If you just look at it at a glance, you see 16 here. You say, oh, there are 16. No, the first cell carries the what? Fields. Okay. So number 1 started from cell A2. So A2 to A16 is in participants. Now let's move to a larger data set so that you can appreciate what this count formula does. So let's count with this COVID virus data set. This is a large data set. Okay. So here we are going to count the number of countries. Okay, so we come to the formula bar, like I said, it always starts with our equal to, and we are using count. count A because it will count the cells that are not blank. Okay, but if you are using the normal count, the normal count will count both blank cells and cells that has value. So count A returns the number of cells in the range that are not empty, while the other count will return everything. So let's use our count A. We're counting the number of countries that are here, so that participated, or the number of that participated in this so in this cell, this is where we want the results to be. In this cell, we are already here, so we come to our formula bar and we put our equal to, and we put our formula that we want to use, count. Now we are using count A because it returns only cells with values. Okay, so when we get that in the brackets, now we put our first value, so country, the first one is in cell B2, and we'll put our column, that is cell B2 to the last cell, which happens to be cell what, B78387. So you can see this large value. How would you have been able to count it? Okay, then you put enter. So it gives you the number of people that participated in that survey or in that project. Okay, so we can even use this dirty data set. Now let's see the difference between count now and count A, right? Because there are blank spaces here. So let's see the number of people that participated, the total number of people that participated. We come here to this cell where we want the answer to be, and we'll come here, we say equal to, and we write our count. So we say count. It gives us the bracket for us to put our value. So we are counting from B2 to what? The last one, B18. Okay, so we say enter. It's giving us 0. So let's use count A equal to count A, right? B2 to B15 equal to, it gives us 17. You see the difference? This is count, and this is a count A. You see, so we've dealt with our first formula. Count A, right? Our formulas are always in capital letter. So the second formula we are going to be looking at is the conditional count. So the first one was counting beneficiaries. So let me put it in brackets. Sorry. So counting beneficiaries, right? So this second one is going to be conditional count. That is, we are going to be using count if. I mentioned it the other time, count if. So count if is for counting categories. Maybe count if female, count if male, count if whatever. Okay, so count if is used to count specific conditions, right? Now let's answer a more specific question, right? Let's go back to our data set. How many participants attended? That is, participants that were present. 15 participants registered, right? So let's see the number of participants that were present. So we want the results here. So we'll put our mouse there, the position where we want the results, and we'll go to, remember, every formula begins with an equal to. So we now type our count. So you can see count if is already there, right? You see count if, count the number of cells within a range that meets that given condition. Then there is another plural count ifs, count the number of cells specified by a given set of conditions or criteria. Let's say for this data set now, you are counting the number of people that are present, that were present, that attended. You are counting the number of participants that attended from Kwara State. So you see we have two conditions, the condition of their attendance and the condition of their state. So that's where you need count if, and you can even extend it to as many conditions as possible. That's what the count if is for. You could say the total number of female participants that attended from Oyo State. So 3 conditions. Do you get it? So but for now we are using just one condition, which is a count if. All right, so we are counting the participants that were what, present. Okay, so count if, we start, this is the I column, that's where the attendance status is, I2, right, column I16. All right, then you now say comma. Okay, what is the condition? What are we counting? Okay, so here we now put our, sorry, we put our double inverted comma and we say present. Present. We want to know those that are present. I'll put back our inverted comma. So you see it now. Count if in this range, those that are present, this is the range now. But we want to know those that were present in this range. In this range, we have 15 participants. But out of those 15 participants, how many are present? So you put your enter. It tells you that 12 were present out of the 15. Right? So let's say present and absent. So we want to know the number of participants that were absent out of these 15 people. Because it's a short data set, you can see that you can even actually calculate 15 minus 12. But where we have large data sets, that's when you will know how effective these formulas are. So we go back, we say equal to count if, right? Count if I1 to I16, comma, then absent. Enter. Tells you 3. So no manual calculations. All right. So before we move forward, count if means count records that meet a condition. In this case, count everybody whose attendance status is present. That is where we have 12. And whose attendance status is absent. We have 3. So I would like you to look at your data set and count how many females you have in your data set. How many females? Okay, that's the first question. Then the second question, count how many completed the training. How many females and how many of them completed the training? Okay. Then the third question will be how many was employed? How many employed? At the end of the day, you know, we still have some employment status here. So how many were employed after the training? Okay. So let me readjust this so that we can see all the fields together without scrolling here and there. So remember in previous class, I taught us how to adjust this. So, okay. So we have virtually everything at a glance here. All right. Now, we are going to be calculating attendance rates. So let me take off all this that we've done before. All right. Attendance rates. You know, most times when we are doing a project, donors rarely ask only for numbers. They often want percentages, okay? So we have to calculate percentage right now. So what do we do? Attendance rates now. Attendance rates in percentage. So we want that to be here. So most times in your cells, you can actually color your cells, you know. If you want the, oh, sorry, you can actually color your cell, right? So you can color your cells to distinguish them, you know, so that's where to color it, the field. So now for us to count the attendance rate, we'll go to equal to, we are counting. So definitely is our count if we are going to be using, right? Count if, then the criteria, which is I2 double colon I16. So that is from there to there, that is the range, comma, present, oh sorry, your inverted comma, then present. We want to calculate the percentage rate of those that were present, right? So you come to the front of this, sorry, oh sorry, that's not what we are doing. We are still in the formula here. So you come to the formula bar here. I left the formula bar, that was why it gave me results. I'm not done yet. So we have slash count A. Remember, it's percentage we are looking for. Count A, then B1 to B16. All right. So we go to enter. Now we are counting the percentage. You know, percentage of people that are present against the number of people that registered. That's how you count your percentage. You calculate your percentage. So when you say enter, it tells you that what 0.8% to calculate for what the percentage of people that completed the training, completion rates. We still use the count if complete, right? You come here, you say equal to count if. So now go to the completion toss, right? So J, then this, right? That's the end. And you now say comma, we'll put the condition. Sorry. Yeah, put the, sorry. The comma should be, yeah, put the condition, sorry, please. And say completed. We want to know the number of people that completed the training, the rate of people that completed the training, right? Then you now come outside. Sorry. This has given you the number of people that completed. That's not what we want. We want the rate. So we are still there. Our formula has not finished. We now say all over what? Counts A, which is the number of people that registered though. So we say start from here, column A2 to A16, right? And you say enter. So the completion rate is 0.67 approximately, or 0.7%, which is like 70% of people completed the training. Okay, 70% completed the training, which is about 10 people completed the training. So this tells us the percentage of participants who completed the program. Now, if attendance is high but completion is low, what might that suggest? Okay, we have attendance rate 0.8 and completion rate is about 0.7. What does that suggest? Drop your answer in the section. Let's do. Many projects have gender targets, so we therefore need gender disaggregated data. Okay, we are still using the COUNTIF over the COUNTA, right? So let's say female participants. Okay, we want to know the number of female. Let me give this. Okay, let me give this one. This one, let me brighten the color and give it a, let's say this one. Okay, we want to know the female participants, so I'll just come here and I'll copy this. I'll copy this. I'll copy it. I've copied the formula. I don't want to type again, so I'll come here and I'll paste it because we're using COUNTA, COUNTIF. But note that the range is going to be different. Now we are going to gender. So gender is under D. So here will be, I'll come here. I can either type it or I just come here and say gender D. Okay, let's do for gender equal to count if. Yeah, gender is under D. So D2 to D16. I want to know how many female participated. Okay, D2 to D15, right? Comma. Yeah, present. We are female. I mean, female. Right? All over. Jesus. Over. Count A. B2 to B16. What percentage of female participated? 0.6%. So when you calculate it, it's about 60% of the participants are female. So if we have 10 females out of 15 participants, it means we have about 66.7% of female participation. Okay, so why this matters is that many do not require gender reporting. So let's move forward to average scores. Okay, assessment scores. Let's look for the average score. Let's come here. Say average. Average score. I want to get it here. So we are looking at the post-test score right now. We'll now come to our formula bar. We'll say equal to, that's what we are getting, right? Average of L2 to L16. That's just it. And you put your enter. So it has given you the average score, 62.13. All right. So this average calculation, this calculation we have here, which is average L2 to L16, calculates the average post-test score. Okay, not the pre-test score, the post-test score average. If you want the average pre-test score, you can change from L2 to L16 to K2 to K16. Okay, it's just the column that will change. So if our result is 62.1, it means the average participants scored around 62. Now calculate average pre-test score and tell me what you got as your answer. Moving on, let's find out if there was an improvement after learning. Okay, how do we find out if there was an improvement after learning? So first, we've calculated our average post-test. This is post-test. Average post-test. Average post-test. Now let's see average pre-test score. We've calculated average. So our formula will be average. All right, so you have average here. Then instead of L now, our pretest is in K, colon K. So K2 to K16. That is the score they had before the training took place. You say enter. 39.8. So before the training, the average test result, pre-test score was 39.8. Then after the training, the average post-test score is 62.1. What does that tell us? If pre-test average is 39.8 and post-test average is 62.1, it means there was an improvement. So let's check the improvement status. How do you do that? Improvement. It will just be this minus this. Okay, so we'll come here. We'll say, sorry, this is where we want it to be. Come here, you say equal to, right, L19 minus L20, and you say enter. It gives you, sorry, it gives you the improvement score. Okay, so let's move forward. Before we move forward, you know, this also tells us that participants improved significantly after the training. So now we are going to be going to our sum functions. That is adding values, subtracting values, you know, addition. You're adding together. If, for example, we wanted to add the average pretest score, all we needed to do was to change this minus to plus. That's just it. Do you understand? And we use it for our M&E scenario, like total grants distributed, total beneficiary reached, total household served. We can use that for it. Then let's look at a mini analysis project. Are we ready? Okay, now let's answer some program questions. Okay, question number 1 is how many participated? Question number 2, what is the attendance rate? Question number 3, what is the completion rate? Question number 4, what percentage are female? Question number 5, what is the average post-test score? Okay. Question number 6, did participants improve? So, okay. So before we move on to our assignments for the week, I want to explain some common mistakes we make in formula, in writing our formula. Okay. Some common mistakes we make in formula. If we write our formula without putting an equal to, let's take, for example, this formula, we'll copy it here now. We copy it and we come here, we paste it and remove equal to and enter. You see, it's just giving us the formula without giving us a result because equal sign is missing. There's no equal sign. So when you put equal sign, you see now it has even highlighted the ranges you are calculating with. Now another error that we used to make when it comes to cell range. Particular example, we were calculating what? The percentage of attendants that were present during the training. But if you are calculating for the number of female participants and you are selecting attendance rates column, then your criteria is already wrong and your answer is going to be wrong. Okay, answer is going to be wrong. Another error in formula is misspelled criteria. Misspelled criteria. If, for example, in your present you did not spell present correctly, you missed that e and you now say enter, you see it's returning 0 as a value because it did not say anybody that is a waiting. I don't know, your present is not correct, that value is not available in the data set, so it's returning 0. Then dividing by a wrong denominator. Okay, if you divide by the wrong denominator, you are still going to get a wrong answer. And using text instead of numbers, these are some common mistakes that we make when writing our formulas. Okay, so for today, but before we go, I would give us our assignment for week 3. And what is our assignment? Using this clean data set, calculate the total beneficiary, the attendance rates, the completion rates, female participation rates, male participation rates, average pre-test score, average post-test score, and learning improvements. So after doing all these calculations, I want you to write 3 insights that you got from your analysis. Because after calculating all this, you have actually performed an analysis. I want you to be able to write 3 insights that you got from the data set. Let's say, for example, if we have female participation of 67%, so it shows that there was a strong female representation. Okay, so that is your insight. Your insight says there was a strong female representation if the female participation rate was 67%. Excellent work completing week 3. Today you learned how to use Excel formulas to calculate key monitoring and evaluation indicators and metrics. These are the same calculations used in NGO reports, donor reports, project evaluations, and program monitoring activities. In week 4, we move into one of the most powerful Excel features, pivots, tables, and dashboards. This is where your data starts telling a story. See you in week 4.